now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And it's Ben.
on Spoiled Rotten, and today we are revisiting Season 2 of Superman and Lois.
That's right.
A name I always worry I'm going to say Lois and Clark, because that's
Yeah.
the show I grew up on.
I keep thinking
like,
of
which
this
one
as
is the
Lois and Clark. Well, but I'm like, wait, that's not Dane. I want to say Dane Cook. It's not Dane Cook.
It's Dean.
Dean.
Dean
Yeah,
Cain,
okay.
and he's a terrible
Dean
person.
Cain. That's right. Yeah, he's not good. He's
no.
like he's like basically what Hercules is now, kind of.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah,
Kevin Sorbo.
There's a Kevin Sorbo, Zachary Levi. There's a whole bunch of them. No good.
Conservatives of Hollywood.
Yeah, but he's like actively racist, which is weird because he's played so many racist characters, and I'm just like, so you don't feel weird about that? Like, I like to think that you would take the role being like, but this isn't me. I'm channeling something into this role instead of just being like, I agree with the script. So sorry, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, I feel like Michael Rooker does a good job of that. Of being.
I mean, that's what I hope. I hope that that's his take, is that he is not representing himself in these, and he sees the evil, but doesn't seem like Dean Cain does.
No, he does not. I just say that about Michael Rooker. I'm like, yeah, I don't think any actual racist person with those ideologies would have the casting that you do with the type of people you do. That
you would hope. That's all you can do is hope. Well, yeah, let's get into it. This is season 2. My overall thoughts, I enjoyed coming back to this show.
Yeah, me too.
It was very nice. I think the overarching thing here, and we might have said it the first time we revisited this season or the show. I don't remember what we said. I know we liked it, but I like how thoughtful the show is.
Yes.
I think I haven't seen this criticism, but I also haven't really looked into what a lot of people say about the show. I feel that people have conversations that avoid some tropes where you're like, oh, well, they could have just had a conversation and this would have been solved. Like, I feel like those conversations actually happen in the show. So maybe someone might think, oh, like they just talk too much or that's not realistic, but I appreciate it. I appreciate that ultimately, maybe not in the moment, but ultimately the conversation that needs to be had does happen. And that's kind of the winning thing for the show for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the show does a very, very good job of being like, here's the titular issue of the episode, and that there will be a conversation by the end of that episode to resolve things, right? Like I forget the crappier of the two kids, Jordan, I think it is.
I don't know
like Jordan
out of the two of them.
I just don't like Jordan. I think I like the other. I like Jonathan way better. I just don't like Jordan.
Before we get into this, unfortunately, this is the last time we'll see that actor as Jonathan.
Right,
he's out by season 3 for mental health reasons, which is unfortunate because I like the way he plays Jonathan.
I do. Yeah,
I had a lot of trouble with him this season. Obviously by design. I wasn't like, oh, this sucks. It was, they wrote him a very specific way, and it made sense as a progression of his character. Yeah. I think my only issue with Jordan is the show, by way of characters, is highlighting how much of like an annoying person he can be, or like how intense he could be, and I'm like, hey, he really is. And his fight scenes, like when he's getting beat up, I'm like, you even look annoying while you're getting beat up. I don't know what you like, and that's not necessarily his fault. Like, I feel like there's some cool people directing these episodes, like the Pink Ranger directs some of the episodes, the guy who plays Martian Manhunter, I'm pretty sure the guy who plays Diggle directed an episode as well. But like, you would think they'd be like, as actors as well, like, let me protect this person. You know what? Maybe we do a different angle, or maybe I tell them, hey, don't do that with your mouth while you're getting punched. Like,
but no, they're just like, all right, I guess we'll just use that. Like,
It's
I don't know if there was like restrained on anything, but they were like, all right, I guess we're taking one or two takes and we're
this is
doing the
what we've
best that
got.
we can. Yeah, because like his wind up for the punch, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'm just like, do you not know what a punch looks like? That looks weird. Like you're flailing right now. I don't get it. And then all of a sudden, you're moving too slow to actually connect that. Like it's like he's afraid to, you know,
Yeah,
trust the stunt double in that situation.
yeah, I think they're both annoying, but I don't have a problem with that.
They
I
are both annoying,
I don't have a
but
problem with that. I think that they are the right amount annoying given the circumstances. Kind of the bigger idea I have about this season that I
mhm,
liked.
mhm,
Um, I think they're the right amount annoying this season.
mhm. Yeah, but going back to it, I just think the show does a good job of being like, here's what everyone's going to struggle with in this episode, and here's everyone's satisfying conclusion toward the end of it, right? So you'll have stuff that's opened up, a conflict, and then it'll resolve it right away in that episode while still having the overall thing. I think this show does a really good job of it.
Hmm.
And that's why I keep liking the show. I keep coming back to it. And each character is approaching it in their own different way, which I think is great. Um, and yeah, but it stays consistently good. I just the character of Jordan just sucks to me, man.
That's interesting.
He's
I
just
don't think he
whiny.
sucks, but I understand.
Yeah.
Um,
He's just too emotional.
if we
I
are
think
talking
he's
about,
just overly emotional.
yeah, I mean, again, that plays into what I like that this season highlighted as a progression, but I understand what you're saying. But I think
Yeah.
the one thing that didn't work for me this season was uh I thought the main antagonist, the woman who wanted everyone to merge, I don't remember her name now.
Allie.
Yeah, Allie. I thought she was really interesting, but the show just kind of
Yes.
used her very not the character.
Mhm.
It was like she'd be gone for too long
Yep.
at periods of times. I thought that I get it. Like, why wouldn't you kind of lead with your Bizarro thing? Because I saw
Yep.
other people who really like Superman get thrown off and be like, "Holy shit, they're doing Bizarro!" So like, that's cool for them. But
Mhm.
I was just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like you end on the Bizarro stuff so that we can front load the season with Allie and really because she's so sure of herself and
Yeah.
before you know why she's so sure of herself, she just seems so compelling. Like, and not in like a oh, I would get caught up in that, but being like,
Mhm.
yeah, man, like every time they talk shit about her, she doesn't seem phased at all, and I thought that
Yeah.
was so cool to
Mhm.
have a villain like that be like, because we see it in real life, but I think sometimes it's easier to see the grift on people, whereas I'm like,
Yes.
I feel like she genuinely does not care if people believe her or not, which
Yep.
is different than like, well, I got to do this so that people believe me when I'm grifting them. I'm like, wow, like that's really cool. And then you're like, oh, there really is the merging thing. So her real grift is just I'm going to kill everybody.
Mhm.
But she can be confident in the fact like, no, like there is another you, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna merge you with that person. You
Mhm.
just don't know that means what that means for you. But like, but yeah, I thought she was so compelling, but just like sidelined too frequently for me to
Yeah.
feel like she got to pick up the momentum she deserved.
I agree with that. I felt like if they had done a better job of pacing her out throughout the entire season, it would have been a little bit better. I very much like you. I thought Allie was such a strong part. I do like her being backloaded toward the end of the season, instead of front loaded like you suggested with Bizarro. But largely because it just all the character, I mean, all the actual threat stuff from a comic book standpoint, Bizarro and Allie, it was just too much space in between, and there's almost too much time focusing on Lana's drama and her storyline that it was weirdly rushed because all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you're mayor, the election is happening. That's moving quite
Um,
fast, and but all this, but all at the same time, it's like everything related to her and what they keep having to do with this Kyle character is just like, oh man, this is really slowing down everything.
I I keep alluding to what I thought about this season was, but I'll just say it because I think it ties up pretty much in the Lana stuff, which was at first I was like, oh, they're really leaning into like the mother stuff, not just parent, but like
Yes.
Lois is definitely concerned. I loved when she was like, "Yeah, I saw Nat and felt nothing." Like that was, I felt
Hmm.
bad about it, but she was looking at me, calling me mom, and I was like, "I don't, you're nothing to me." And
Hmm.
then them talking about like they kind of bring it back in the end where it's like, "Hey, like your dad, you may have abandoned us, but you never abandoned us." I'm like, I don't know if you, it probably could have been written better, but the idea
Yeah.
that like we understood why you were gone, our mom legitimately just cut ties and was gone.
Yeah.
And so they were really focusing on the mom stuff for a bit, but it really did feel like how the mom stuff ties in is the real thing they were trying to explore, which is the burden of sharing your secrets with people.
Yes.
Because we obviously talk a lot about uh, you should give people the tools they need to make decisions for themselves, and that
Hmm.
means you can't be like, no, I got a secret identity, I'm going to keep it from them.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I really liked the sons being like, fuck you, I'm like, I should be able to tell. And
Hmm.
I even liked early on when the dad when Superman's like, look, if you really love her, let's revisit this in a year. Like if you're
Yep.
still together in a year, it makes more sense for you to tell her. And I was like, at least he's got a game plan here of like,
Yep.
it's not just you never tell her. Because like the show, I think even someone says already like you were already in trouble. Like
Hmm.
someone has already come after Sarah because you
Correct.
love her. So like that cat's kind of out of the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I like that he's like, look, you can tell her in a year, but I what the show did that I think worked for me was, yeah, maybe you don't ruin a kid's childhood by telling them. Maybe let them be a kid. And I
Hmm.
liked that was the Lana stuff that I appreciated.
Yes.
One, I thought like I've never seen Emmanuel Shukri um be able to play so much in something. Like obviously my
Yes.
big lengthy period of time with her is through Entourage, which doesn't really respect female characters. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's there, but at the most, but you are
Load.
kind of like, but you are kind of like, I mean, but this, and then I think the next biggest thing I know her from is You Don't Mess with the Zohan. But like
Yeah.
this, I'm like, oh shit, this season in particular, they're letting her be an actor I didn't think she was, and I was genuinely surprised. So I was like, I mean,
Hmm.
give her more then. Yeah, I really appreciated a lot of her silent acting, so a lot of her
Yep.
listening to people and responding. And so obviously in this season, Superman's like, I'm gonna tell her I'm Superman, and I
Hmm.
love that it was like what I read on her face, and it kind of came through in the her you should have told me, but what came through on her face was like, oh fuck, like I could have been married to my best friend who is Superman.
Yeah.
Um,
She did a good
Instead, I
job of
was with
that
Kyle and
with
he
this
cheated on me.
loser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I really love that that was like her like so then and then I didn't even know they were gonna go. I saw some people say they didn't like this, but I really liked when she was like, actually I'm mad at you, Lois. Like you could have just kept your distance, but
Yeah.
you inserted yourself in my life. You like I think they didn't like the idea that she's like the relationship's based on a lie, and I can see how people wouldn't like her saying that. I understand how
Mhm.
she feels that that's
Yeah.
the truth, and they did a good point of her being like, "That's not true. I don't think it that." And then she's like, "But it's how I think," and I'm like, "Fine, that's fair. That's her valid
Mhm.
response to that."
Mhm.
But I like that what she said was, "But you made me a liar then, because now
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to lie to my kids about
Mhm.
this." And
Mhm.
I I just appreciated that it was not like a clean solution to tell her that
Yeah.
obviously they were going to have to deal with the emotional fallout of that. And I do like that she made the choice to be like, I mean, she does ultimately tell Sarah, but I like that at first she was like, I don't know, like that is a huge burden to put on a kid.
Yeah.
They are 15. I know they probably are really 2021. Even
Sure.
then, I think that's a lot, but they are like sophomores in high school. Like, and
Mhm.
that kid that is only sometimes around, Sarah's sister, Sophie, I think her name is.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's the funniest thing.
I do like that that Lana was like, it is more important for my kid to just have her childhood
Mhm.
than, and because I say that because now you're asking her to become a liar and forego some of the carefreeness of being a teenager at that time,
Yeah.
in addition to dealing with your parents separating. Like
Right.
it's a lot to put on her, and I like that she was like, this is probably something that could wait. I don't
Yeah.
need to dump this
Yeah.
on her, and what it would do to her for her sister if I'm not telling both of them.
Mhm.
I appreciated that the show was like, it's not as easy to just tell whoever
It's not.
you, and I appreciated that, but that's what I liked about the Suns is it reminded me like, well, they didn't get that chance. Like obviously they're happier that they know, but it does
Mhm.
come with him being like, you lied to me for 14 years
Yeah.
about fundamentally who you are.
Yeah.
Like, don't come to me about me trying to save my girlfriend from the show. Like, you lied to me for 14 years about who you are. Like,
Yeah.
give me some space here.
Yeah, there's definitely good discussions being played within the family and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, Emmanuel Chakiri's character of Lana is just they lean on her a lot this season, which
Hmm.
feels unnatural in some ways because it interrupts the flow of what's actually going on in the thread of the world and all that kind of stuff. But it's they do she does a lot, and that's the why I can't fault it. But to me, if I look back at the whole season, I'm like, yeah, that is weird that they're just like slowing things down for this election and all that kind of stuff.
But
But
I do
ultimately she
think
does
it's
such a good
important.
job.
I think it's
Hmm.
important to the storyline because what they're doing
Hmm.
was first season I told my family, and
Yeah,
now we're trying to expand to who else I'm telling.
sure.
And she is,
Hmm.
even in the first season, like they reference it, like you helped save this city last
Yeah,
season. Like you should know this information, especially now that you are officially someone who needs to protect the city.
yeah.
Like that is important. So
Hmm.
it didn't feel like a diversion. It just felt like the natural, especially in a show like this. This show is about conversations. It's not
Yes, it
about
is.
actually. Yes, obviously he saves the world every
Yeah.
season, but it's about these conversations. So it to
Mhm.
me it made sense.
Yeah. And that's what I said I liked about season one about this show is the fact that like with a character as grandiose as Superman, is that the show really highlights his humanity and his struggles or integration within that humanity with other people around him and all that kind of stuff. So it still really, really does work well on that. And just again, I like what you said about the idea of like, yeah, you can have this secret, you can burden other people with it, and it's going to go very wildly, right? I
Hmm.
think one of the best allegories or comparisons I can have towards this is like the idea of coming out as LGBTQ in the sense where it's like, okay, well, some people are going to see you entirely differently. Some people are going to be like, all right, cool. And then some people are going to be upset that you like, hey, you kept this from me for like however many years, 14 in the situation, as the kids say. But it's just, it's a very interesting thing to watch. It's not so simple to be like, yeah, just do this. It's even when I keep wanting to say her Sloane just because you brought up Entourage, but like when Lana just goes like, "Hey, I need some space from you so
Hmm.
that it doesn't allow me so that allows me to not have to lie to my kids right now."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. That's great. It's just, it is a challenge. And then um also seeing like, okay, well, you can see why Kyle's character didn't want to reveal that he cheated on her and all this kind of stuff.
Especially
Um,
since it was like it was done for however long.
yeah,
But
and it was
I
so
love
long
when she was
ago and
like,
all that kind of stuff.
you did it to protect your family, but not to protect your uh, marriage, which
Yes.
I liked the distinction she made there.
Yep. Yep.
She's like, oh, so like it's that is obviously a great thing to be like, yeah, this is gonna ruin my family. I'm gonna
Hmm.
stop, but it does then show your priority over the person that you knew before your family, which
Yep.
is your wife. And
Hmm.
obviously, I do think once you're married, you have formed a new family. You don't need kids under that. But
Correct.
for the purposes of the show, I get what they were
Mhm.
saying.
Yep. Yep. It's yeah. It was a thing. I just like, oh man, it just sucks to see them use Kyle so consistently as a shitty character. And then like everything he's doing on screen is just like, yeah, we're seeing the good version of you right now. We're just told of things
I
that you
don't
have
know if he's
done.
a shitty character. I think he's a messy character, which is what the person she was running against said, which was like for someone
Yes.
who likes tequila, you certainly like to make things messy.
Mhm.
I do think that he grew up though. Like I think that
Oh,
like
absolutely, he did.
I don't know that he's just a shitty person. Like he
But that's
obviously
what I
really
mean.
cares about
Yeah.
family.
Mhm.
He might be a shitty person for Lana to be married to,
Yes.
but I don't think that makes him across the board a shitty person.
I think it's shitty by comparison, just because like especially in this season, it's like Lana gets that recognition. It's like I could have been married to Superman. That could have been awesome. But what I mean is like in season one, there's like here's the alcoholic stuff that he's struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to get better there. All we see is him trying to get better from his issues. And this season, it's like you had an affair all those years ago, but the entire before anyone finds out, before even we find out, he's just like, no, he's being a legit good father and like all this kind of stuff. So it sucks to see like the show not commit to showing us more of his flaws to be like, oh yeah, this is why they're in this strife. It- and
I don't know what that would look like. I think it's very clear what his flaws are.
Yeah, it is. It's just for
I
me,
think
I'm like,
what you're
oh man,
watching
I'm
is
just
someone
seeing the good side of him instead of
I
all
think
the
that's
bad
point of
stuff
the
we're
character.
told. It sucks. It sucks because I'm like, I want him to have a win.
I don't want to put words in my mouth. It sounds like you want him to be the bad guy, but he
No,
isn't. So what you're
Yeah.
watching is someone try to rebuild after being a bad person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it just sucks to see someone that's trying so hard not get a win. And even toward the end, and I like that he did this. And then like that he's like, hey, can I have this dance? And then she
The
goes
last
like, hey,
dance.
whatever. And then he reframes it as like, okay, well, can we make this our last dance? And he actually accepts his
Mhm.
fate and all that kind of stuff. I like that he does that. And I'm just like, yeah, this is a very complex, mature character.
Yeah, he does get wins. He gets to
Yeah.
be with the person that he ended his affair with for.
Sure.
He gets
Sure.
to be with Sarah. That
Yep.
is a win. They're
Yep.
not really concerned with Sophie. So like let's just
Sure.
say that's the other win is that both his
Yeah,
daughters,
yeah, yeah. They're not concerned with
both
that
his
youngest
daughters
daughter.
like him.
She's
He
a
gets the
set
win
piece.
for understanding what his daughter's passion is and setting her up for success with that.
That's
He gets
true.
The win where you see him kind of at first
Mhm.
in self-pity where he's living by himself, but then the next time Sarah sees him, he's looking healthy, he's with friends, like his
Hard
coworkers,
to
but
decorate, yeah.
I don't, it's not that doom
That's
and gloom with him.
true.
I think he's just a messy character, and that's interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very, very fair. He is he's got a lot of development and all that kind of stuff. It's just that yeah, you could make mistakes and just you won't get the win that you're actually looking for. But he gets what he needs. He doesn't get what he
Yeah.
wants. He gets what he needs.
And
That's
again,
that's
I
good.
think that distinction is important because that is who his closest relationship is by the end of the season, which is with Sarah.
Yeah.
aka his daughters, but obviously Sarah. Like
Yeah.
I think that was right to point out. Like you ended it for that, not
Sure.
for me.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
the fact that is highlighted, and then you watch throughout the season him continue to have that relationship with her.
Yeah.
I think that is the win, and that's like you said, what he needed was to have
You're
that
right.
and not be in a relationship that would have him cheating like that and do the things that are healthy for him right now.
Yeah, you're right because him and Sarah actually do have a couple of really really good scenes. Like whenever she visits him at his apartment, all that kind of stuff. He does get that really really good relationship with her, and at the end of the day, that's what he wanted by hiding the truth, that he cheated is to keep his family, and the fact that Lana's like, yeah, co-parenting, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay. I see your point. He's definitely getting what he needs, not what he wants, which is the relationship. For now, at least. I don't know what season 3 has in store.
I don't think they're going to keep them apart forever, but I do think
Neither do I.
I don't even know if he wants that relationship so much as he's like, well, this is embarrassing. I wasn't even doing anything wrong when I got caught.
Yeah.
I think there's some of that as well. It was just like, no. Like, and I don't know. I think him accepting this is our last dance instead of being like angry about it, I just take it as what I saw, which was him genuinely accepting, like, okay, then this is our last dance, of him being like, yeah, probably best for us to not be together right now.
Sure. Yeah.
One time where I didn't like Jordan was when he kept trying to like tell his secret. Like he wrote that letter and Sarah's like, I don't want that right now. My mom's missing. He's like, no, I got it. I was like, but again, he's 15. I was like, I'm not like a terribly written character. I was just like, you're so annoying, man. Like
you're just a 15-year-old, and I get it. Like
on.
when I was that age and older, I was like, yeah, I'm in love with this person. We're gonna do this. I'm like, I get where he's coming from. It's just annoying to see.
It's the
on
most
screen.
important thing to it. Like I think he has a moment like. She earlier on this season was like, like I wanted to share this with you, but you weren't there. I think
Yep.
it was her mom's election. And then his thing was just like, no, you're the most I need to tell you about this. I was like, no, 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 not the same thing. You got to
Yeah.
relax, buddy.
Yeah.
Her mom's
He's
is literally missing.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
when
the
he
fact that
tried to
he
tell,
does that at that moment, I'm like, what the hell, man? Lois did not tell you to give you the letter away. She just told you to write down your feelings and get your
yeah.
emotions out.
And then when he tried to tell Lana, and she's like, yeah, I know, just I don't want you around her. And he's like, no, no, it's different. I was like, I realized in the moment, I was like, oh, that's kind of harsh to that what she did, because there is a way she could have said everything she said, and I would have been like, yeah, 100%, you're right. But
Mhm.
then obviously they later on showed that she was like, no, I feel bad about lashing out. Like,
Mhm.
and I think that's another reason I didn't think Kyle was taking losses, because he was there for her when he needed to be. Like, he helped her with
True.
the debate prep, and he helped her through that situation of like not knowing what she's talking about, but being like, hey, like everyone knows you're a good person, so don't beat yourself up about like
What I
lashing out.
did.
Like that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a hard time being on Jordan's side during those two moments. I was just like, come on, man.
Jordan just
You
like
gotta
that's why
read the room. You gotta
that's why I feel like Jordan just sucks. He always just makes everything about him because he's so emotional and so it's rough. It's
I mean,
terrible.
to balance it out though, I thought he did a good job with his brother picking on him throughout the season, or the first half of the season. Not
That is
that's
true.
not
That
to
is
say.
true.
I like that he was like, you're obviously being mean because something's going on with you. Come on, man. Like, please, you can tell me. I
Yeah.
appreciated that he was giving him that opening,
Yeah.
not that Jonathan was taking it. And I do appreciate that they're like, it's the drugs making him act like this. Like, but I was just like, come on, you were so cool in the first season about most things. But
Yeah.
it made sense to me that his growing resentment would just manifest this way.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. The show is very well written. It's just when you still see it,
Yeah,
for me, I'm just like, oh, come on, man. Like you freaking teenage drama crap.
yeah,
Like seeing Jonathan's arc this season, I actually was like, oh, this is interesting. This is great. Yeah, this is a character that's gonna have to deal with so much crap now, just simply wanting to be a little bit more special in a family where he doesn't feel special. I'm like, I
hmm
get where he's coming from, the whole and then to be the reason why the football season's thrown
yeah.
away and all that kind of stuff and how he's protecting his girlfriend and all that. I'm like, yeah, he's doing good things. I'm less annoyed at Jonathan,
No,
but
yeah. I mean, I also appreciate that they made his coach less of a cartoon bully.
yes.
Like he was still pretty weird, like especially at the end when he's like, "Hey,
Oh yeah.
people do hate him." I'm like, "All right, settle down, buddy." Like, you're his coach. But I feel like in first season he was just actively picking on him and bullying him like a cartoon
Oh,
like high school
absolutely.
kid. Whereas this
Yeah.
one, I'm like, at least he still is the adult in each situation. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they fixed that in season two.
Mhm.
Also, his teammates acted more like. And again, this makes sense for season two that
Yeah.
they've spent time with him. They are teammates now. That like they don't have to love him, but they also aren't like let's make his life miserable. I
Yeah.
like that they were just like, you're just a weirdo, man. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I like that little like hallway scuffle that they had where it's like, we're gonna cost us the season. It's like, hey, you were taking it too. You're lucky I didn't out you, and then all
Yeah,
this kind of stuff. And then they were like, yeah, but we didn't get caught. And I'm like,
yeah. Like
this is
it
this
wasn't a
is a
scene where they were
legit
gonna beat
teenage
him up.
thing.
It was just like
Yeah,
you annoyed us, and I'm like, yep,
yeah.
perfectly, perfectly
The,
reasonable.
yeah, there was no like actual like physical bullying that was gonna happen. It was just like, yeah, we want to make you feel like crap for
hmm For like
doing this.
again, I mean, I don't know how old those guys are, but like it does matter if you lose a season if you're trying to
Yeah,
do this in university as well. So like
yeah, yeah.
it is a problem.
Especially because yeah, the mom was like that might be the last time my son
hmm
ever puts on it, and I'm like, yeah, that would be a big major issue to a kid that age that loves football or loves
hmm
sport. It's just like, yeah, not only is it I'm not going to be able to suit up, we have to forfeit everything, and then my last season was a complete sham, and then
hmm
also like I don't get to go for varsity sponsorship scholarships or whatever now because of statistically my whole season is null and void because of
hmm
this one kid that got caught.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get where they're coming from. I think they do the teenage stuff really, really well. I just, again, I just find it annoying because it is just teenage stuff where it's just so hormonally driven and
I think
everything's the end of the world because they're freaking 15. And it's like, oh, my girlfriend, they're gonna love for the end of time. And I'm like, all right, that'll happen a few more times in your life. It's just,
I just
chill
like
out,
they're like, no,
buddy.
don't be an idiot. You're not gonna marry her. He's like, yeah, I will. I'm like, I appreciated also when I think they only did it twice, but they kept hinting at or they hinted twice at like uh, Lois being like, yeah, Clark's kind of a loser who didn't have sex until whatever. Because he was like, well, I wasn't thinking of that when I was 15. She's like, well, then you're not like me. And I'm like, or when she was telling Sarah about her boyfriend, she's like, yeah, I'm not really going to tell him about that. I
Yeah.
don't think he could handle that.
Yeah, that she had this wild history, and I'm like, I don't really buy that this version of Lois would have that wild history.
I do.
But
Like her home life seemed really like she's flat out said, I was trying to piss my dad off. And you have
that's fair.
complete grounds to see why she would be trying to piss her dad off.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I do like her sister in this season. I thought that was a really, really good
I think it's a well
point.
written character.
Yeah,
I didn't love how it was acted.
fair.
Uh it is what it is. But I appreciate it. Some criticism I saw was people were like, "There's no way she'd be like." I'm like, then you've never dealt with someone who's gotten to like an MLM or more importantly, a cult like this.
Yes.
Like that is exactly how cults wouldn't exist if people didn't work like this.
A
Exactly
hundred
like
percent.
how Lucy is acting, and it is weird because I'm like, she says, "Oh, I'd lost my engagement." I'm like, she's talking about from Supergirl. That time when they made Black Jimmy Olsen dump her to be with Supergirl, and then I'm
Mhm.
sure fans were like, Supergirl can't be with a black man. Get rid of that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just felt like doubly like, yeah, that's a shame that that happened to you because
Mhm.
didn't really work out for your ex fiance either.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I really like what that brought to light, which was the whole Lois, you pick and choose what you want to say,
Yes.
and how that affected her partnership. I'll be honest, I teared up at the end when she was like when she finally kind of gave Nat a hug and shared with Miss Beppo, because I was
Mhm.
like that was kind of her corner to turn this season, was actually
Mhm.
letting these two women in, or well, a girl and a woman into her life, so
Yeah.
that I mean, yeah, if you're saying you're gonna live at my house, you can't be that cold to her. So yeah, and
Mhm.
then obviously if you're like, hey, let's start a paper together, it doesn't work if you're picking and choosing what she gets to know. So I felt very cathartic when she finally let those people into her life and shared with them what she should have been sharing with them before. And again,
Mhm.
with Nat, it was just some form of warmth as
Mhm.
opposed to just stay at a distance. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, don't call me mom, you weirdo. You're a freaking kid.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know what they're gonna do with John Irons because, like,
It
literally
feels
anytime he put on that
weird.
set, I'm like, they're gonna kill him now. They brought his
Yeah.
daughter, so they met their black quota. They're gonna kill him. I can't help it. That is how I felt. Like, no, they're just gonna kill him. Like,
And that's
I
usually
don't.
how like that's how I felt when I saw the Asian Superman, like from the government side of things. I'm like, yeah, 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 they're gonna kill him pretty soon. Like that's gonna how they're gonna
Yeah,
establish
he did
scale is they're
get.
gonna
He
kill the
was in
Asian guy.
season one, and I'm like, yeah, he's
He's gonna
he
die.
no, he didn't die. Right, it was the black guy and the white
It was the
woman.
black guy, yeah, a
Yeah,
little white woman. He did not die, but just conveniently did not write him into the rest of the season, anyways. But that's fine. It was just associated with that
I'll be
general
honest.
that
Yeah,
got
I'll be
replaced.
honest. I
So
was
I'm like,
happy that he got out of there to like somewhat unscathed. I'm like he went through
yeah.
enough in season one. Then like let's
Mhm.
just get. But yeah, I feel like they did that thing where Steel gets beat up, and then he
Yes.
wakes up and he doesn't remember that Lois isn't his Lois from his universe.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, it seemed like before he was still trying to blur the lines there, and
Mhm.
I feel like they've dropped that somewhat by the end of the season, but it didn't.
It's
But
very confusing.
they kept being like, no, you're not completely well though. Like this is gonna be a problem. And then before being like, hey, I'm fully back to health, he gets his head beat in by Allie, and I was just like,
Yeah.
what? Like they're gonna kill this guy, aren't they? Like I
It
kept
feels
getting weirded out.
weird. Yeah, because I don't know what they want to do with that character. It doesn't feel like they know what they want to do with that character. I legitimately thought that character was going to be left on Bizarro World to be like, oh, this Lois likes me, and
Yeah.
that seems to work out. Like I legitimately thought that was a possibility of this season, and the
I'm
fact that
glad
they
they didn't
didn't,
do
I'm
that.
like, wait, what? So does that mean does that mean they're going to have a better plan for him in season three? Because like you
It
said,
seems like
every
it's going to
time
be
he
back to
suited
him
up,
in season 3, like as a
yeah,
focus. If you like the post-credit scene is like it's not a post-credit, but like
right,
it feels like one is Diggle being like, "Hey, Intergang." I'm like, "Oh, I remember Black Adam." Like
yeah, yeah,
Intergang
yeah,
wants to kill you, and I was like, "Okay, well, it seems like that's going to be the big push next season then."
sure, yeah. It
Um,
hopefully that they do something a little bit better with him because it felt like this season is just like we just need him to establish like some risk in this whole thing because everyone knows we're not killing off Superman, so we got to
I
have
mean, they
some
do kill him
potential.
off and then bring him back to life, which is fine. Like it's
Sure.
as I said, I'm not too worried about the whole Superman of it all. Like whenever he
Mhm.
shows up, I'm like, that's cool. But it is a show where I'm not like, when are they gonna get to Superman? I'm just enjoying, as I said, the conversations along the way.
Yeah.
But yes, they do depower him for a bit, and Nat has to wake
Yeah.
him up, just to revive him
Hmm.
uh, at some point because Allie can steal his powers.
Yep. That's a thing that she can do,
Uh,
which, sure.
Again, I do think you need to spend more time with her
Hmm.
throughout the season for that to truly land.
I agree.
Um,
Because I like the
so
idea of like Miss Pepe being like
Beppo,
Beppo, being invited into the cult, and her
no, she was
like
so
what.
annoying to me. I was like, you really don't get that you're about to get fucked over. Like, what's
You
wrong with you?
no, I just like the whole interaction of like Allie being like, "We know who you are," and she's like, oh, "So tell me more." And then she goes deep cover. I
Yeah,
legitimately
see,
thought
that
that she
was
was
good. But
going
then
to
when
be
they're like,
yes,
"Hey, want to get in a van with us?" and she's like, "Yep." For the story, I'm like, "No,
yeah, she
you got to
seems
be
dumb.
smarter than that."
She's very naive for sure, but like
I
I
thought she had a
thought
plan almost every time. By the last time, I was like, "Oh, she doesn't have a plan," because they've
she
showed
does
me
not
she
have a
never has a
plan.
plan. But
I
the
thought
first couple
legitimately
times,
she was
like,
going to
no, she'll
turn to
figure it out.
Allie's cult. Thought that would have been cool for her to be like,
I
"Yeah,
mean, that
I'm
is what's
with
on the
Team Allie
line.
now."
You don't want Lois to send someone else into the arms of Allie. That's
Sure.
what's on the line.
Yeah,
That's the point of having all those storylines happen at the same
I
time.
get that. Yeah.
But it is. I was just like, why is she so dumb? Like
So
she seemed to have
naive.
been running things before Lois got there. Like, and I get that this is bigger than what she's done, but these feel like transferable skills of knowing when you're in danger. Like,
A little bit. A little bit.
like these. Yeah. Anyway, I was just kind of like, come on, man, really? You're just gonna get in there?
Yeah.
Um, but a moment I did like with her was when Superman saved her, and she was like, "Is it just us you saved?" And I was like, "Damn, like, that sucks for you, buddy." She's like, "Really, just us?"
Hilarious. That's so funny.
Um, because I think that the show, even with its, I don't mean this as an insult. But without calling it Smallville, it has to pretty much be just Smallville.
Yeah.
Um, that they're still showing the limitations of Superman. He can't be all powerful because he can't be everywhere at once, and so he like I like that it's like he's trying to have a conversation with his kids, but it's like, oh, I gotta go to North Korea. Another conversation. Oh, I gotta go to like Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And it's how that would drain him because, especially when you go to the Bizarro world, and Lois is like,
Mhm.
"What's wrong with you?" And his version of "I don't go out anymore" is like, "I'm not going out to save everybody anymore."
Mhm.
And him having to be like, "I'm a fucking superhero. What's wrong with you? What do you not get about this?"
Yeah.
I appreciated that they're like, this is what it would be like to be Superman, and so you just gotta appreciate the calmness he approaches it with
Mhm.
our version of Superman.
Yeah. Yeah. Does a really good job of that for sure. Because I do like that conflict of like I gotta go to Russia now. I gotta do this now, and like they're smack down in the middle of a discussion in the family. I think it's really good stuff when that happens for sure.
And I like that they make a point of being like, no, he's the only hero on this planet. Like like
Hmm.
General Lane, whatever he is now. I know he's not a general
Hmm.
anymore, but he's just kind of like, no, I've seen other worlds. Like they have multiple heroes. You got to respect that your dad is the only hero on this
Hmm.
world. Like
Yeah.
no one else is coming to help us.
Yeah. I mean, which is weird considering the fact that they put Diggle in here, where it's like,
Yeah, you can still have different versions. He's not a hero there. Like
is this
he's
this
just
is this
Diggle.
the version of Diggle that has like the Green Lantern ring from
I
the
think they would have shown it if
Arrowverse?
he was.
All right, I guess they're not doing that. That's fine. Whatever.
I mean, even if he wasn't there before. So like,
Right.
then you would have to explain why he is jumping around Earth. I mean, I guess other than he's got the ring, but
Yeah.
this felt like universes, not Earth
Right.
jumping, but or sorry,
Mhm.
planet jumping.
Mhm.
But yeah, I appreciate that he's like he probably not probably Clark Kent knows he's the only one, so he can't be like I don't know, like Flash will probably deal with that. He's like I gotta
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
and they have that depressing montage where he doesn't have the powers and people are on TV like, so what's this guy's deal? He's just letting things like crash and burn now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I appreciated that. That's all weighing on him while he's trying to live his life.
Yeah. Yeah. And to go the extent that he does is like, hey, yeah, I know we gotta it's wild to trust my brother again, but
I really
here
like the
we
brother.
are.
This like
I
they
like the
finally
brother
they
this
were like,
season.
oh, okay, let's just do the Loki thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah.
Just make him Loki.
Yeah.
I'm all in for this.
Yeah.
And I like that because I remember the scene where he's kind of like, it doesn't matter what I do, you still don't trust me, and that's because it's not you I have to convince, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
who does he have to? I genuinely didn't know they were gonna say it was Lois,
Yeah.
like, but it was Lois, and she's like, oh, is it when you kidnapped my son, tried to kill me, or you? And he's like, see, I told you she'd bring that up, but I like how sincere he felt, and it was good that they played it against Lois to her face because
Yeah.
you would just have to believe that Lois knows how to sniff out bullshit. When he
Yes.
says, "I promise you, I'm not going to hurt anyone you love ever again,"
Hmm.
I believed it, and it helped the way Elizabeth Tulloch played it. Of like, I hate that I believe you. Like, I don't. It wasn't like, oh, thank goodness. She was just kind of like, fuck, man, I don't see a lie here. Like, I think she's
Yeah.
telling the truth.
Yeah. His explanation was spot on. Like everything, he wasn't making excuses. I'm like, yeah, I believe him. Like, and the fact that she believed him too, I was like, okay, she's not completely biased towards this guy. It's just this is a very difficult situation for
No,
her.
he fucked with her family. Like, I
Yeah,
get that she wouldn't
100%.
be like, oh yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
appreciate
get
that
that.
they just planted a flag of like, no, this guy wants his brother back.
Yes.
That's this that is his end game here.
Yeah. And what he said about that whole situation was just like, huh, yeah, that does make sense.
Because he was saying like, yeah, I was too busy doing someone else's bidding when
Mhm.
I already knew what I wanted and I wasn't focusing on that, which was my relationship with my brother back.
Yeah, that was very, very real of like, oh, I'm gonna do what everyone else wanted of me so I could get what I want. I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to what he's saying there.
Hmm.
It was very, very well done for sure.
Yeah, I really like the brother. I didn't see that coming for me, if I'm being honest. By then, it's just like, hey
I
man,
would
like,
agree.
give this brother what, because he ends up on Bizarro World, right?
Yes, he does.
Um, but did they kill that Lana?
No, she's still very much there.
Okay, so she's back there, so he can find her. Because
Yes.
he wasn't talking to her at the end; he was just talking to another bartender, but like kind
Yeah.
of mirroring the bartender Lana he met when
Yeah.
he was there. Yeah, that's interesting. I love that they never told him who his wife's name was. And he's like, "Can you just like how long would it take you to just tell me her name? Can you just tell me, please?"
They really did a good job with the Loki thing
Yeah.
with this. I like the fact that the thing that was weird to me is like every time they like held them in prisoner, like both Allie and like Superman and the brother, I'm like, why are you putting them in the same cell? Like why are you doing that? That's how mischievous stuff happens and stuff like that.
100%. I think. I mean, I don't think this is what they were thinking, but just the
Mhm.
hubris of like American military being like, "Well, we've
Sure.
got the Red Sun. We sorted everything out. No need to think about anything else."
Yeah, yeah. Let's leave this
Like we already
one.
know he's depowered, and it's like, yeah, but that's not the same for. I don't know. As you said, it gave them the opportunity to plot out something.
Yeah. And then Allie and Allie's Bizarro twin being like left alone. Oh, cool, they can hold hands.
Hmm.
But why are you keeping two people that are that big
It
of a
makes no.
threat
I mean,
together.
I understand for the shot they need them to be together, but to
Yeah.
your point, it makes no sense if you're trying to keep them from destroying things again to put them in the same
Yeah.
container.
Yeah. It's like, great, you took the pendant away, but like you're still legitimately worried about this, right? It's not a hard problem. Like I feel like I would understand why. Okay, this is why you put the brother and Superman together. It's because you only have the funding for this one facility at this point in time right now. But the whole alley situation, I'm like, this is a regular human being we're talking about. There's why would you put them in the same cell together?
Yeah,
This should be high security or like maximum security.
unless
And
she
I
got
don't
to keep his Superman powers, and they're like, we still need to depower her.
yeah, it doesn't make
But
sense.
they didn't really focus on her. But
No.
I'm assuming that if you ask someone, even if it wasn't thought of in the room when they were writing, someone would be like, she still has his Superman powers. That's why
Yeah.
she's there. And have to be like, sure, you didn't say anything to disprove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think you're right. That's so weird that they would put them together.
Again,
but works for
to
us.
your point, it is very much for the visual shock because them holding hands together, it is very effective for sure. To be like, yeah, okay. I did like that idea that I forget who asks her, Allie, but like, did you ever feel
Oh, it's
complete
Lois.
when that
Yeah.
did happen, Lois? And I'm like, yeah, that's explore that because it's a very fascinating concept.
Well, I love that she was like, we felt joy. She's like, that's not the same thing. She's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah,
we know.
yeah.
I was only I was a bit confused because I was like, sorry, it feels like Lois might be like, hey, is there something to this? I know she was just fact finding, but the way the actor was playing it made me be like, is she like considering joining? I don't really. This didn't have a lead up to her to this conversation in particular. It's just happening right
It
now.
was
So I
very
was just like,
confusing.
what's going on? Yeah, I think that the season had confusing bits. Like I wasn't 100% sure what was actually triggering like Jonathan and Clark's like spasms, like when they drop things or like they go like, oh, I was like, I understand that it's something to do with their bizarro selves getting close to them, but it just
seemed weird that
it
didn't happen with any other character.
Yeah, it didn't work for me because I was just like, I don't know why it's happening now or why it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes they'd be close and nothing's happening. So what is it that actually triggers it other than just now we as the audience know they have a bizarro version of themselves?
Yeah, it was quite strange for sure.
Yeah,
I do like in the Bizarro world how they're swapped and how Jonathan is Superboy instead of Jordan.
but also they did weird things like
They
it
did do
was
weird
Jordan
things.
Michael instead of Michael Jordan. I'm like, all right, and like everything is a cube, like the planet, the glasses, everything are cubes, even the
Yeah.
billiard balls, and I'm just like, I don't know if we needed this. And
Yeah,
characters saying,
that
"What on God's square Earth?" I'm like, that's not even the saying. Like, what? Why you just keep pointing at it?
what yeah, it's
Don't
like
forget, everything's a cube here. And things are
it's
backwards.
we're the cube people now. The cube is life. It's very strange. They probably overextended to the extent where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that leads into the final episode where they're like, it's a little bit our world, it's a little bit their world from a visual. Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
they don't have.
because they're aren't they like I don't know how they. I shouldn't say that. I don't know how they figure out like because I feel like the visual was showing that the Earths had actually merged. Like you could see
Yes,
this. So him
there's definitely
punching it
overlap.
would just break one of them at the very least.
Hey,
It
it's
wouldn't.
to me it's Superman logic in the sense where it's like, all right, he's either got to fly around something
He should have
against.
flown around, is what I'm saying. He should have
He
flown around to
did,
reverse it so that they
he
came apart,
did,
not go down and punch it.
he did. He punched it first to separate them, and then he spun around to
So
get
that
to actually fully. It was this weird thing, and I'm like, oh man, Superman logic always seems to just justify everything down to a really really big punch or flying against the rotation of the Earth or something like that.
okay, so he did rotate after the fact.
He did
Oh,
rotate it.
I thought he
Yeah.
was doing it beforehand. Fair enough.
No, but yeah, the fact I'm like, yeah, if you punched it and they're already overlapped, aren't you just destroying both worlds? Like,
Yeah, but if what you're saying is true, then him reversing would mean that they weren't destroyed anymore.
yeah, I get that. It's just it's
I just didn't
Superman
know he did
logic.
it after. I thought he did it before and then did the punch, and I was just like,
Yeah.
that seems like a lot of people have to die for that to work.
We're not thinking about that. It's
Uh,
fine.
what else is going on in this season? Um, I did like that when Beppo finally finds out she's just weird about it. Like,
I
I guess I'm
love
gonna just
that.
look at you from
Yeah, it's like
because
she's
her
been
initial
staring at
reaction
me
was
a
funny.
lot.
Her
Yeah,
initial reaction was funny. It was like, "Yeah, right. Your husband is Superman. How convenient." And she, "Oh, sorry,
oh,
you're
you're not
serious."
lying. Yeah. It was good. And then the next scene you see them hugging, just like just staring at him. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna have to talk to her about that. Like that's really good. I like
mm,
how nerdy her character is. I
yeah.
really, really do. And
I
like this season, she was a lot less naive than the first season, which I really, really like. And but she still has that energy about her.
hmm
She's a good character. I like it.
yeah. I feel like end of last season, she made the shift to be like, "You can be my partner," and I was like, "Oh, okay, good.
Mhm.
She'll be less uh like she was before." And I didn't hate what she was before, but it was like, oh, okay, like she's clearly like, look, we're gonna be equals here because this is
Yeah.
my paper, and I'm gonna help. I'll bring you in.
Yeah, she was
But
fawning
then
after Lois for sure.
I even like when she called Lois out this season of like, so sorry, I just talked to someone. Clark came back from an assignment from our paper. I don't think that's a thing. And she's like,
Yeah.
he wants to impress you. And I like that she wasn't sold. She was like, was to impress me by just going off for a month and doing something I didn't ask for. Like, oh, I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
I
I'm
like
like,
that a lot more. It showed a lot more confidence as opposed to the fangirl of Lois that would have let like any excuse fly
yeah.
in season one. It worked out really, really well.
Or when they saved her at one point, and she's like, "Yeah, I guess I just go in the car now and don't think about all the lies that must have happened for this to be true." I was like, "Yeah, I like that she is aware, but it made the other stuff more annoying when she was like, "Yeah, I'll go along with this because for the
Mhm.
story." I'm like, "No, right? No, don't do that."
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the that was some good stuff that she
Mhm.
learned. Both Clark and Lois told important people in her life, and I like that she
Yeah.
said, "I'm telling you because it's important that you know, but you're also my friend." And I
Mhm.
was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, good. This is
Yeah.
good stuff." Um, yeah, I was really on board with Sarah being like, "I'm breaking up with you," and then I was kind
Mhm.
of bummed when she's like, "I guess let's start again." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. That guy, he's he's way too stressed out for you. You need
Mhm.
to." I wasn't even like, no, go with the girl you kissed at a camp. I like that they dealt with that the way they did, where it was like, well, she's been part of a divorce. I'm going to be drawn to her not for
Yeah.
romantic reasons, but as someone I can talk to about this.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't invite your boyfriend to that though. Like that needs to be
Yeah.
you guys work your shit out. and
Mhm.
then, but the show was aware of that. I like that even John was like, no, what I'm doing is more normal than what you're doing. Like I'm lying
Yeah.
to keep my girlfriend from being homeless. You're doing weird shit with your girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And like again, this isn't like, no, you can't be in a relationship where people have multiple partners. It's that obviously that's not a Jordan thing. That's not
Yes.
he's not built that way. So
No, he's
it
not. He's
is
too
a bad
emotional and
decision. Yeah.
insecure about that. For
Yeah. So
sure
it is
he
a
is.
bad decision for him to be like, yeah, let's and we know he did it so that he could help. But he was
Yeah.
not Sarah. He was overhearing
Mm.
uh some people making trouble for Jonathan's girlfriend. Is her
Mhm.
name Candace?
Yes.
Yeah, he's hearing people make trouble for Candace, so he wanted to help. But
Mhm.
it was kind of just like, you need to revisit that and be like, you know what? Maybe I jumped into the whole let's hang out together. Maybe I'll wait on that,
Mhm. Mhm.
especially since he didn't even show up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it made things worse for him. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Candace because I felt like she got let off the hook pretty easily.
She did. She did.
Like
It
if they're
didn't
saying she's just right,
feel
there just
great.
seemed something manipulative about the way she was parsing out the information,
Yeah.
and maybe that just comes down to
Because
the actress, but it just felt like
no, it
that's
came
not.
back to what the actress was doing or what the character was doing in the sense where I'm like, okay, I get the idea that you're selling these drugs. to deal with your dad's pain issues and all that kind of stuff and the low income aspect of it. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is like, hey, this drug that I got my hands on that is questionable, I'm gonna be like all hot and bothered when my boyfriend does it and does football things and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, yeah, you need to dial that part back because it
Hmm.
feels manipulative in that sense.
It just felt weird the way she approached the because it threw me for a loop. It was like, "What, were you gonna break up with me? I hope you know that." And I was like, I don't think she's lying about this, but it just felt like we should have been on this path. Like, I guess I don't want to rewrite the show, but to me, it would have made more sense if we saw her life and the decision she had to make,
Yeah.
and then we could. I wouldn't feel this thing of like, so everyone's just gonna let them eat cotton candy and elephant ears at the end of this show, and nothing. No
Yeah.
one's gonna say anything about like, hey man, like, can we help with your your family situation so you're not dating our son and involving him in drug deals?
Yeah, yeah. It felt like there should have been some like some olive branch to deal with that situation for
And as you
sure.
said, she also gave her boyfriend the drugs. Like
Yeah.
I'm, he said he was going to pay for them, so I'm not, I don't even mean for free, but just in general, like that's wild that you were like, yeah, go for it. I see no
Yeah.
downside
And
to
not
this.
only is yeah, it's not only go for it, it's just like, oh, what do you mean you don't want to take it anymore? You're
Yeah,
starting on the football team. Like, please take more. It's that felt so weird to me. I'm like, what
yeah.
is that doesn't seem right. Like, what the hell? But you
Because
know,
the show was like, hey, fuck her, she's a drug dealer. Like I think Jordan and Clark say that at one point, but it just like, I, yeah, well, I mean that ignores a lot of societal things that force people to do that. But what we
yes.
should be dealing with is how she's approaching this with her like supposed loved one.
Yeah. Because
That should be different.
here's the thing I noticed is like Lois was like, and you will to Jonathan's like, and on top of like going to school online and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna work at this place. And I'm like, seems like Candace is the one that needs the job a little bit more than Jonathan does if we're talking about finances and we're talking about that kind of stuff and getting her off drug dealing. Like, give her the job. Like, what
Hmm.
the hell are we doing here?
But
Like, that would have been
they
nice.
didn't know at that point that that's who he was protecting.
No, they did not know. But
If
it's just
they
like
knew, that I'm sure that's
after the
what their
fact,
response would be. But that's why I'm saying
hopefully.
it ended with them kind of being like everything's fine, and they showed you them kind of just walking off happily. And I'm like, I just feel like that should have ended with Clark being like, "Sorry, I have to talk to you for a second." I mean,
Yeah.
they know they had the whole she has immunity, right? Like my grandfather's going to
Hmm.
protect her, but maybe more than just protecting her, be like, what can we put in place so that like she can have money for her situation?
Yeah. Yeah. And her father. Like, is
Let them be
there
my
some sort of
situation.
treat? Yeah. Like, is there some sort of treatment in the
If he can't
DOD?
work, oh no, I just meant more like obviously they're not going to be like, hey, look, it's the states. So money will be involved in whatever treatment he needs to get. So
Of
they
course.
still need some source of income.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe some magic pill that Superman found from Zara World. That she's I don't
Maybe,
know. It's you're
maybe.
right though, in the sense where it's like it feels like they really needed to address the Candace situation at the end. Not that Candace was like a major character, but the fact that it's
I
like
mean,
this
she's major
caused a
for a
major
storyline. Like she is
that's
the
like
driver for one of the key
yeah,
storylines.
like she's not a major character, but she is involved heavily in a major story arc in the thing. So I'm like, yeah, there needs to be some sort of resolution here. And who knows if she's coming back in season? I don't know.
I
You probably
assume.
do, but like, yeah,
No,
this is.
all I saw was while I was looking up the actor. I don't know how true this is, but that
Mhm,
the I think her name's Elizabeth Tulloch, the woman
mhm,
who plays Lois,
mhm,
because the guy who plays Jonathan is named Jordan. She had
mhm.
to put on her trailer mirror Jordan plays John and this guy plays Jordan, just
Yeah,
so
yeah,
she
yeah.
didn't like fuck it up. But I also with that was the information that yeah he's not in season 3 or 4 because of mental health reasons.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I guess he said it in a cameo, like someone paid to ask him why aren't you in the show anymore, and that's he said. And I was like, oh, that is a shame, but also I'm glad that he took the time he needed. But it is I like him in the role.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah, he's good.
it'll be interesting to see when we revisit season 3 how I take to suddenly someone new in there.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm mentally prepared that he will be there, but I think I would have reacted poorly if I just turned it on. I was like, "Who the fuck is this?"
I mean, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's good to know for myself mentally prepared for season 3, what that's gonna look like. But yeah.
And I do like that him being the super one highlighted for Clark like this gap that is there.
Mhm.
Not only is he, I think Lois even says you're being pretty harsh on him, like
Mhm.
so he's like actively creating a distance there, but he doesn't have powers, so he can't have like a nice moment like he has with Jordan when he takes him to this place and he's showing him different flight patterns and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, he
yeah.
just can't do that kind of stuff with Jonathan, so there is
Mhm.
that gap. But then he sees, oh, there's a world where he did have the powers and I still created the gap. So
Mhm.
I appreciated that issue being a thing for him, but I also like that ultimately they smacked that Jonathan's head in with the steel hammer
Yeah, yeah,
because
that
he was
was
annoying me. I
really
was like,
funny.
"Fuck this guy, kill him!" And then
Yeah,
when Nat showed, up, I was like, "Good, I'm really happy about this."
yeah, that was really really funny. It's like boom, hammered. I'm like, oh man, did they just kill the kid?
I
I
mean,
know
they
they
didn't, but
didn't,
it
but
was
like it's
nice when
still
she was just
it's a
like,
good
"Fuck you."
it's a huge visual, and I'm like, oh my god. I like the I like the point of tension too for Jonathan's character to be like, hey, on the Bizarro world, it seems like they didn't keep the secret, and it
Hmm.
seemed that they were pretty well off in the sense where they were basically celebrities at that point, right?
Yeah,
And I thought that was cool. They had like publicists and like interviews and all that kind of
he
stuff. And I'm
made up
like,
the like
okay,
Superboy symbol with his
yeah,
hands.
yeah,
That was cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we know as an audience he's wrong, so it just feels like a
yes,
futile point to bring up. Not you bringing up him, but it
Mhm.
is important to remind the audience that like this season is about this secret they keep keeping. And because I saw some people thinking like, oh, why are they giving him such a hard time? And I'm like, because they're fucking 15 years old. Their life got
Yeah,
blown up. They have to keep this secret, but like that's a lot to ask of a 15-year-old. Like you're treating them like adults now. They don't get to
yeah.
be they don't get to grow up. Like you're just like, no, you're growing up now because you got to
You're an
keep this
adult now.
secret,
Yeah,
and it is having, obviously in the grand scheme of things, not the end of the world, but end of world repercussions for them as
Mhm.
teenagers, where they can't share themselves and their family with the people around them that they see all day, and it's
Mhm.
causing trouble. And they're saying, how is this better? And I just liked that, and
Mhm.
I thought they brought up good points. Like it doesn't make things better that you keep this secret. Like,
Mhm.
I think the only thing that I agreed with was Lana and the show in general being like, I mean, maybe don't put this burden on kids.
Yeah.
Uh, but Lana and Beppo, people like that, should know if you're gonna be around them all the time.
Yeah, yeah, if they're gonna be significant parts of your life and be trusted and all that kind of stuff. Because yeah, it's lying about where Clark was for about a month with a crappy excuse was just like, yeah, that's not so great.
Especially since it was like you tell that to Lana, and then she right away is like, "Hey, Beppo, like crazy that you gave Clark this work," and it's like, see already, you're just blown up in your face.
Yeah, it's like what? No, like think of a better lie. Um, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I was a big fan of how they treated secrets in this
Mhm.
season.
Yeah.
Um, and I like that there was a lot of gains for Lois as well, like with her
Mhm.
family dynamics. But
Mhm.
also, as I said, I was very touched by the distance between her and Natalie because I was like, I genuinely don't know what they're gonna do with this. That her otherworld daughter is here, and I know
Yeah.
it's not actually her daughter, but like you immediately like you can live with us. And basically, our sons are like your brothers, and I like that she said I liked having brothers. It was nice, and I was like that. The three of them worked for me very well.
Yeah,
Uh,
the three kids working together, that was always fun.
that and her being like, they treat us like kids. We're not. I mean, just as by virtue of everything we were talking about, you
Mhm.
removed that status from them by being
Yeah.
like, here's a secret you got to keep. Like
Yeah.
they can't really treat you like kids after that, which is why I liked every time mostly Jonathan pushed back with the secret stuff. Yeah, because he was like, you can't treat me with kitty gloves if you're asking me to hold on to this shit.
I mean, it's very valid. It's very true. It's just because like both Lois and Clark are definitely trying to do that in the sense where like Clark has that whole in blow up in the beginning half of the season where it's like, yeah, I've never seen your dad that angry before, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that is pretty scary and all this kind of stuff because he's getting to a point of frustration where he's using fear to get compliance out of the kids, and that doesn't work usually, right? So it breeds this conflict that I'm like, yeah, Superman's got to figure this out, and I think it gets to a good point where it's like, hey, tell you what, if you still feel the same way after a year, then we'll have a different discussion about this. I think that is fair, because you can't expect Jordan, even though I don't like his character, to be doing everything, but then also be treated as an adult in that sense with the secret. It's kind of tricky.
But yeah, I like that Lois found her way to being open to Natalie just because she's still a human being that's in her care at that point. So it's like,
yep,
you have to show her something. And the Beppo stuff, and even though I didn't love the wording, like even the gains she had with her dad of like, we like, you know, all this time to reflect on mother's effect on our lives. It was good to have memories of knowing like where you were and why things were the way they were, as opposed to having someone just leave. And I think even at one point Lucy tries to say it was Lois's fault that the mom left, and then she's like, I was 8 years old. I'm like, what the fuck? You're wild for thinking it's your sister's fault if she's 8 years old.
Yeah. It's very, very. This it was overall a good season. It was a little bit rocky, but it was overall a good season, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know what you found rocky. That's fair. For me, it was really just down to like how they deployed the alley villain, and some of the not Bizarro himself, but just that the two worlds and the effect it has on them physically. I was just like, I don't really get what's going on here.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel as clear cut as it could be.
Yeah.
So.
It felt rushed in that. It felt rushed in that sense for sure, but it is what it is.
Did you want to rate it?
Yeah. I'm giving this season a 7.
Okay, I'm giving it an 8. I really enjoyed it. I thought that emotionally it worked for me, but yeah, there was a lot that could have been done to clean things up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening, everybody. You can find us on all the different podcast platforms. So rate, review, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, do all that. If you don't find us on a platform that you usually go on, you can contact us by email. That's spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. We are at TDSpoiled on Twitter, Instagram. No, we're not on Twitter. We're on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And we have a YouTube channel. So yeah, you can find us on YouTube at TDFspoiled as well. And go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten if you want to hear all of the episodes and if you want to figure out all the different coordinates I just said. All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.